He was known by everyone as a man you did not approach lightly. A soldier once feared on the battlefield. Now a powerful CEO feared in the boardroom. Cold, distant, precise. His gaze alone could silence a room, and his clipped words were stronger than any weapon. His life was discipline, order, and control. Whispers surrounded him. He never smiled, never lingered, never trusted. Employees treated him like a storm that could turn the air heavy at any second. Women admired him, but none dared to get close. His heart was locked behind walls thicker than steel. His reputation a barrier no one crossed. That was until the day fate tossed him into chaos. It was an accident that left him on the roadside, unconscious. His team scrambled, people shouted, but none knew what to do. Then from the crowd a girl darted forward. Plain clothes, worn sneakers, hair tied back messily. A girl no one noticed before. Someone with nothing but determination in her heart. She bent down, checked his breathing, heard nothing. And in front of a stunned circle of observers, she pressed her hands over his chest, counting steadily. The feared soldier CEO, the untouchable man, was given CPR by a poor girl no one had ever heard of. She refused to hesitate even when others whispered in disbelief. She leaned in, sealing her lips to his, giving him life with each breath. To everyone else it was shocking, unbelievable. To her it was instinct. Save him, whoever he was. And then, with a final breath and the rhythm of her hands, his chest rose sharply. He coughed, eyes snapping open in a raw moment of weakness no one had seen before. As he gasped for air, his cold eyes met hers. The girl who had stolen his first kiss was staring back at him, panic and relief mixing on her face. Something inside him cracked in that instant. He, the man who had given nothing of himself to anyone, felt his heart stir against his control. He sat up slowly, silence falling across the scene, every onlooker frozen. No one dared move, no one dared speak. His hand reached to his lips faintly, still startled by what just happened. And there she was, trembling slightly, whispering, "You're safe now." That simple sentence echoed louder in him than the orders of any general. The man nobody dared to touch had just been saved by the touch of someone with nothing to lose and everything to give. From that day forward, his discipline wavered only around her. He could command companies, control soldiers, and freeze rivals with his stare. But when it came to the poor girl who had stolen his first kiss to save his life, he realized with a shock that he didn't want his heart to be untouched anymore. And every day that followed, he found himself falling further into the warmth he never thought he needed. He returned to work as if nothing had changed, dressed sharply in his tailored suit, his expression just as unreadable as before. The world expected the cold CEO to remain untouchable, unshaken, and he did not give them reason to doubt it. In the office corridors, his footsteps still made employees straighten like soldiers. In meetings, his silence spoke more than words, and rivals dared not meet his eyes. Yet something he could not explain followed him everywhere. At night, when the world was quiet, his mind replayed the moment on the roadside. Her determined hands, her trembling but fearless lips pressed against his, and the soft whisper when he opened his eyes. "You're safe now." He told himself it was nothing, just a medical act, CPR the way any trained person might give. Still, it lingered. The memory unsettled him in ways battle never had. Investigators brought him reports about the incident. How a stranger, a local girl, had come from the crowd. No status, no wealth, no intention of recognition. She had disappeared back into the crowd as soon as the ambulance arrived, almost as if she didn't want to be noticed at all. That baffled him. Everyone he met wanted something: prestige, money, access to his world. She had taken nothing. Instead, she had given him something he could not name. In the days that followed, he began to notice habits he never had before. Sometimes his eyes flicked out the window toward the city streets, beneath his skyscraper, wondering if she walked there. Other times, when his employees handed him files, his mind would wander for the briefest second. Picturing her worried expression, the warmth of that moment of life returned. He felt his chest tightening, not from injury but from something dangerous, longing. His staff whispered more than usual. They caught him distracted once in a meeting. His jaw slacked for half a second before he straightened. They noticed his signature scowl fade when he stared too long at nothing. They could not recognize it, but they knew something had cracked the ice around him. He tried to shake it off. He forced himself into longer hours. But all of it could not erase the simple truth etched in him. The life he had built was orderly, controlled, powerful, but utterly empty. And the one person who had stumbled into his fortress and broken the silence was a poor girl who left without asking anything. For the first time, the man who thought emotions were weaknesses found himself seeking what he had, avoided all his life. He was falling, and he knew it. He saw her again by accident. It wasn't in a glittering hall or some staged encounter, but in the simplest place imaginable. On his way to a charity inspection site, his eyes caught her as she hurried across the street carrying a bag of groceries. That looked too heavy for her arms. The people beside him barely noticed her, yet his world froze the moment he recognized the face he'd seen only once before. Without thinking, he stepped out of the car, ignoring the startled looks of his assistants. His tailored shoes struck the concrete as he walked directly to her. She looked up, startled, almost dropping the bag, never expecting to see him again. He said nothing at first, simply reaching out to steady her hand, his movements softer than his soldiers or workers had ever witnessed. She blinked, nervous, whispering, "Why? Why you?" He almost smiled, almost the way humans did when they let their guard down. "Because you saved me," he replied quietly. She tried to argue, shaking her head. "No, I just did what anyone would do." But he stopped her with one steady glance. The same stare that used to terrify crowds and shut down corporate rooms. Only now it wasn't cold. It was searching, vulnerable. His team whispered behind him, confused at how their untouchable commander bent his head, slightly just to meet this girl's eyes. For a man who never allowed closeness, he was acting as though she already belonged in his world, as though she had all the control. She adjusted her bag nervously, cheeks flushed, and muttered, "You don't owe me anything." He shook his head almost immediately. "You're wrong. I owe you everything." She didn't know how to answer. No one ever believed her words. No one ever even noticed her presence most days. But here he was, the soldier CEO with walls higher than mountains, standing in the street as though she was the only person who existed. The crowd around them passed by, unaware of the shift happening there, but he knew it. For the first time, he didn't care about strategy, legacy, or wealth. He cared only about the poor girl in front of him, the one who had given him back more than breath on that roadside. She had given him warmth. And though he didn't say it yet, deep inside he already understood an unshakable truth. His first kiss, the one stolen to save him, wasn't something he wanted to erase. It was the beginning of everything he had never allowed himself to feel. He sent his people away that day, brushing off their protests, and walked beside her as she carried her groceries down a quiet street. Every step was unnatural to him, not because of her presence, but because of what he was allowing himself to feel. He, the soldier who once commanded men without blinking, the CEO who turned corporations upside down, now found himself weighing every word as if a single sentence might break the fragile thread between them. She tried to keep conversation light, teasing gently that he looked out of place without his guards. But he only watched her with a half-smile that felt foreign on his lips. Inside her modest apartment, he helped set groceries on the table, his expensive suit jacket brushing against worn furniture. It did not matter to him. Surrounded by things she had worked for, things humble but lived in, he felt more peace than in all the marble halls and towering glass skyscrapers he had ever built. The childlike brightness in her eyes made him lower his tone. He finally said what had been clawing in his chest since that night. "Everyone fears me. They obey, they admire, but no one touched me, not once, not without motive. You gave me your breath without asking who I was. You didn't want anything. You gave and walked away." She swallowed, her voice soft. "I didn't save you for who you are. I saved you because a life is a life. I would have done the same for anyone." He stepped closer, shaking his head. "But it wasn't anyone, it was me. And you've changed me." For a long moment, she searched his eyes for mockery, for calculation. She found nothing but the raw outline of a man stripped of armor. He moved carefully, as though learning how to live again. And this time, when their lips touched, it was no accident. No CPR, no desperate battle with death. It was deliberate. The kiss was quiet, filled with something even he didn't completely understand yet. When he pulled back, he wasn't the untouchable soldier CEO in that room. He was simply a man who had finally found the one person who saw him as human. From then on, his presence changed. Colleagues noted he no longer carried the same frozen stare, that there was warmth in the edges of his expression. And in the silence of his own life, he finally admitted what he had been afraid to say. His downfall had not come from enemies, from rivals, or from war. His downfall had been a poor girl in worn sneakers who stole his first kiss while saving his life, and his heart chose never to rise from that fall.